Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Welcome everybody once again to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform. I am Jacob Uchenna, your lecturer and host on the course Economics. Today we'll be taking a look at the theory of cost. Now, first of all, we'll be looking at the meaning, the types of costs, then the long run and short run costs. Now, we would have to remember certain things. First of all, we remember that at a particular study session, we talked about long run and short run period of production. We'll also need to remember that here, because it is a concept we'll have to be making use of that idea. And secondly, whenever talking about the first outline there, the meaning of costs. Cost is an expenditure. And when we talk about cost of production, cost in economics refers to the different things, both in monetary aspect, opportunities, profits, that is expended in the production of certain quantities of goods and services. In other words, to the economist, cost is not just the cash. Cost includes other things. So, in other words, for the total cost of production, the economist considers two things. The economist considers two things. First, he considers the types of costs that the economist considers. We have the one we call what? Implicit costs, and we have explicit costs. So when we add these two, we have the total cost of production. Total cost of production, we now said, includes both implicit costs and explicit costs. Now we'll take the first one, implicit costs. Implicit costs refer to those foregone alternatives in terms of opportunities, in terms of profits, in terms of sales revenue that were given up because of towing a particular production decision, as a particular choice of production. Now, those things in the form of opportunity costs. For instance, you decide to invest in the sale of cars instead of production of clothes. Now, those the profit on sales revenue you would have enjoyed from and the convenience you would have enjoyed from the production of those things make up your implicit costs. The opportunity cost, those things that you did not produce, the clothes you could not produce because you actually decided to invest your resources in the sale of cars, becomes your implicit cost of production. So implicit cost is the same thing as opportunity cost, and it's a part of production, cost of production. Now, secondly, which is the main one now, is the explicit cost. Explicit cost talks about the physical or money cost implication or expenditure incurred during the production or during the carrying out of a production activity. That means when you now you made a choice on production and you decide to execute it, the cash or the money you spend in executing those things, that is what you refer to as your explicit costs. Now, explicit costs now has certain variants. That is what you have. The types of explicit costs, you have the total costs, we have the first of all, we have the fixed costs, we have the variable costs, we have the total cost, we have the average fixed costs, we have the average variable cost, we have the average cost or average total cost, then we have marginal cost. This is FC, VC or TVC, then we have what, TC, and you have AFC, have AVC, we have ATC or AC, and MC. Now of these things we have the we are looking at what the variance of explicit costs. Now the first one we talk about what, the fixed cost. The fixed cost is actually a type of cost which does not change as the production which does not change or remains constant over a given level of output or a certain production limit. It does not change, so it is what called fixed costs. Also, fixed costs can also be seen as the total cost when output is 0. Total cost at 0 level of output is also referred to as fixed costs. Those things that you do not have to, you just have to they are costs that are constant. Okay, the graph of the fixed cost looks like this. It's just constant like that. Here is output, here is the cost. So this is what fixed cost. Here total cost, fixed cost is equal to, of course, this thing here. All right, now the second part of it, the second one here, is variable cost. Variable cost is a type of cost which changes as production activity changes. That means the cost that increases or reduces as production activities does what? Increases or reduces. That means varies directly with the volume of output. Now the idea with that is that at every point in time, anytime you are producing, your total variable cost or your variable cost must increase once the output level is increasing, or it drops once output level drops. So in other words, it looks like this on its own. Total variable cost, so this is total variable cost or TVC, is cost and output. Now the other one, the third one, is called the total cost. In some disciplines, total cost is referred to as mixed cost. It is defined as the total amount spent on the production of a given quantity of output. Now in such cases, when you talk about the quantity of output, that means it will include both variable costs and fixed costs. That is why it is also referred to as mixed costs. So the total cost there, for a given quantity of units, you will have here something like this, where here to here is the fixed cost, here is the variable cost. So here is what? Total cost. Fixed cost starts here and ends there, and variable cost goes on. So this is output or quantity, and here is the cost. Now we note another thing, that total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. Total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. Now when we have taken the total values of both fixed variable costs and the whole cost, now we now take their averages, which makes up the next three. The next three will be the averages. The average fixed cost is the cost per unit of output at every level of production. Cost per unit of output of a given quantity or level of production. Now, the fixed cost curve, the fixed cost continues to reduce as output continues to increase, but does not touch the y or x axis. It does not touch the x axis. That means it does not reach the x axis, but it keeps on dropping. For instance, that means that is why the curve for average fixed costs looks like this. This is for average fixed cost. This is cost and output. It keeps on dropping as output is increasing, but here it does not touch the x-axis. So in other words, it is a negative slope but has a limiting value, and it does not reach the x-axis. Now, the average fixed cost AFC is equal to total fixed cost TFC divided by the quantity of output. Okay, so total fixed cost divided by quantity gives us average fixed cost. Now the next one, which is average variable cost. Average variable cost is the variable cost per unit for each unit of output given a quantity of production. Now, if we have that, then what we are talking about is this, that when we have our total variable cost, we divide it by the quantity, we have the average variable cost. So in other words, my average variable cost now looks like is the average variable cost curve is a U-shaped curve like this, which means it gets to a point where it has a minimum point, a minimum value. Now this is the average variable cost. This is average fixed cost. Now average total cost and average variable cost, AVC is equal to VC, which is variable cost divided by quantity as well, while this one is total fixed cost or fixed cost divided by quantity gives you average fixed cost. The average variable cost gives you variable cost divided by quantity. Now the average total cost or the average cost is also the total cost for each unit of output that has been produced in a given production outlay. Now in such, the average total cost is of course a division of the total cost by the quantity of output produced, just like what the other two will be like. But the average cost curve is similar in shape to the average variable cost, but is higher in altitude. So we will have the average total cost here, AC, will be AC equals TC over Q. Now this is output, here is cost. Now this is the whole thing. This is the graph for total fixed cost or fixed cost, total variable cost, total cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost, and average total cost. Now the last one, which is quite very important in the theory of a firm, is that the marginal cost. The marginal cost is referred to as the additional units or additional cost incurred as a result of the production of an additional unit of output. That means as you increase the cost, what output does that cost bring about? That is what you refer to as the marginal cost. A marginal cost curve is also having a U shape like the average total cost and average variable cost, but it cuts the average, it is below the average total cost and meets it at the minimum point. Now over here, marginal cost MC is equal to change in total cost divided by change in quantity of output. That means I will have change in TC over change in Q. Now basically the curve, like we said, looks like this. This is MC curve. It looks like that. This is MC, output and cost. So we have the 7 graphs, how to calculate the cost, the 7 explicit costs, and we have the 7 graphs. Now you will take a look at your screen, because if you in a few minutes, in a moment, some questions will be coming up on the screen. We'll be back right after this timeout. You're welcome back. Now this is to test how we could actually calculate those things we learned a moment ago. Now the first thing here, this table here, this schedule here says we should actually complete this table, this whole place, with values for total cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost, and average cost, then marginal costs. Now the first one, total cost, we said it is fixed cost plus variable cost, right? Now fixed cost plus variable cost equals total cost, so which means whatever here plus this gives us this. So let's do this. 1000 we have here as 1000. Here will be 1000 plus 400. You have 1400. Yeah, 1640, 1800, 1880, 1960, and 2000. Now average fixed costs, we will be dividing the fixed cost by each of the fixed costs by the quantity of output. We said that AFC is equal to TFC or TAS, fixed cost FC over Q, or TFC over Q. Now this divided by 0, of course it's undefined. Okay, 1000 divided by 1, I have 1000. This divided by 2, there's 500. Divided by 3, I have 333.3. Divided by 4, there's 250. Divided by 5, there's 200. And divided by 6, we have so 1000 divided by 6 gives us 166.67 or 0.7. And now average variable cost. For average variable cost, we recall average variable cost is variable cost divided by the quantity of output. Now average variable cost here will be dash undefined, that is 0 divided by 0, of course. Okay, then average variable cost for here, this is going to be variable cost divided by quantity, that's 400 divided by 1, I have 400. The next one, 640 divided by 2, we have 320. Here 800 divided by 3, 266 or 267, and 880 divided by 4, I have 220. Then 5 dividing 960, 960. 132. 6 divides 1000. I have 166.7 or 167. Okay. No, not 132. This is 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 9, 9, 9, 192. 192, pardon me, and I have 167. Now over there, that is average variable cost. Then average cost here, we talk about the average total cost. That is whatever you have as your total cost divided by what we have as a quantity. And the marginal cost, we'll do the first 3, you complete the other one. You have here average total cost is the total here divided by this. Of course, that's an undefined value. But here average total cost is 1,400, and divided by this I have the same 1,400. Then 1,640 divided by 2, I have 820. And like that, you use this to divided by this to give you the right answer. Now you will try that at home. Let's deal with marginal cost. Marginal cost, we said, of course, the first one will be dash, but marginal cost is change in total cost divided by change in quantity. Total cost at this point, at quantity 1, you have 400 minus that, 400 minus 1,400 minus 1,000 divided by 1 minus 0. Of course, that is 400. You put 400 here. The next one, between 400 and 1,640. For the second part, MC will be 1,640 minus 1,400 divided by 2 minus 1, and that is between here and here. Okay, what we will have, we have 240 divided by 1, and that's the same thing as 240. We put 240 there, and you use the same method to calculate for the other ones. Now that is talking about the types of explicit costs. Now these costs, the next point we'll look at, we have the relationship between average costs and marginal costs. Oh, okay. No. Okay, average cost and marginal cost. Now, this is the average cost curve. The average cost curve is like this, AC, while the marginal cost comes this way, MC. Now this is the output and this is the cost. Now at every point in time, the marginal cost is, like we said, measures the marginal cost measures the rate of change in total cost. That means tells us how the rate at which total cost is increasing, whether it is at an increasing rate or at a decreasing rate. At the earlier stage of production, we have what? We have falling marginal cost and falling average cost. But the marginal cost starts rising before the what? As the average cost is still falling between here as production progresses, but it gets to a point both of them are equal. At the minimum point where average cost is at the minimum, then it is equal to a marginal cost. That is, the marginal cost curve cuts the average cost curve at the minimum point, and as it's going up, we have both of them increasing. At this point, we have higher cost for every output we incur, and that is where we talk about what? Diminishing or decreasing returns to scale, diminishing returns, because these things will give us higher costs, and definitely the value of output might be that. So here now it means that at this point total cost is increasing at a decreasing rate, but here total cost is increasing at an increasing rate. That means there's more additional costs than it has been. Now that is the relationship between what? Average and marginal costs curves. So we now take a look at the last point on this, which is the long run and short run costs. Long run, okay, short run and long run costs. Short run and long run costs. Looking at the short run period of production and the long run period of production. The short run period of production is, let's recall that from our theory of production, that the short run period of production is a period that is characterized by at least one fixed factor and a variable factor, while the long run period is a period characterized by what? All variable factors. That means that no factor is fixed in the long run, but in the short run factors are fixed. There is at least one fixed factor. Now down there, the short run cost is just the normal average cost curve, because the cost curve we are talking about here is the average costs. But in the long run is made up of a series, that is different periods, different short run periods, different production boundaries that make up different short runs within different intervals. Then how do we determine the long run costs? Now the short run costs is what we have seen before, that looks like this. Short run average cost is just our average costs for one period in the short run. That means at this output, this cost is the minimum cost. That means the firm should produce at this point. Okay, but the long run average cost curve is the locus of the minimum short run cost of various minimum short run cost curves, short run average cost curves. Now let's look at this. What we have here, we will have a short run cost, another short run another short run 3, another short run, another short run. Now each of them have minimum values 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now the long run average cost curve is a production of this. So this is my long run average cost, while each of this is short run. Is short run average cost 1, SRAC 2, SRC3. So a combination of each of these minimum values, we now check, okay, among all these short runs, where do we actually produce? That means we, in the long run, our minimum cost should be here. We should be producing in the long run at this point. This is output, and here is cost. Now this is the difference between what the short run and the long run average cost curves. I believe with that we are at the conclusion of this point of our study session. So the next thing you will see on your screen will be a group of questions. Make some attempt at them, especially the quantitative aspects, and where you have problems, go back to the calculations and the definitions, and I'm sure you'll get through to them.